welcome to Anime Audio Commentary. Today I'll be commenting on episode 10 of Spy Family. If you'd like to watch along, then start watching now. So it seems like we're getting a look into the everyday life of Henderson. You know what, since he first appeared, I've always kind of liked him. He's generally been respectable and honorable and very fair-minded towards everything, really, you know. He acted in defense of the forgers, even when there is no possibility he would be recognized for it. But at the same time, he doesn't play favorites either. He truly is an exemplar. So it seems he has a bit of business with one of the other teachers at the school. You know, I almost get a bad feeling here that this guy's going to be here about Anya doing something else. So it turns out that Anya acting out at all was unusual, and a rather noteworthy incident, for want of a better term. So at the very least, Henderson seems, kind of optimistic about the class as a whole, Despite being young, they can and will learn and improve as they grow older. Honestly, I think that's kind of the right approach to take if you're going to be a teacher. You can't assume that kids will continue to be jerks just because they are when they're little. So now it seems like we're getting a little bit of character development for Damien here. Obviously, he's none too happy about not having any family show up, and he's not really too happy about his friends gushing over his older brother, who's already a superstar academic. Obviously, Damien's got some pretty big shoes to fill, and it seems like he doesn't really think that he's capable of doing it, even if his friends superficially think so. So it seems like they're kind of putting this idea in his head that performing well in gym class will allow you to get a stellar star, thus putting him markedly ahead of the other students in his class. And, knowing Eden Academy, that very well may be true. And you gotta love Henderson, listening to classical music on an old gramophone. How truly elegant of him. Ooh, how elegant and brilliant indeed. Like clockwork, Anya and Damien are already getting into it with each other. Can't help but feel a little bit bad for Henderson. And I've got to say, the opening music has really been growing on me. I didn't really like it that much at first, but I think I appreciate it now. Although I think I would have liked it better had it really leaned into like the big band style sound, but in its own right, it's still good. So anyways, it seems like Anya's sort of buying into this idea of getting a Stella Star from gym class. Although she heard this from her friend Becky, who, like all kids her age, isn't exactly a reliable source of information. Naturally, Lloyd has already sort of seen through this, thinking, that doesn't make much sense for Eden Academy, but Anya and Yor are both on board, to the point where Yor's willing to train her. So it seems like Yor has the wrong idea here. It seems like this is going to be another instance of her teaching Anya how to punch people. So naturally, Yor is going all out on this. Strength training, calisthenics. You can't do a lot of that stuff when you're a little kid just because your musculature has not developed. It's kind of a trade-off, really, because kids have a lot less mass to move around, so the muscles they do have are sufficient, but at the same time, it's not developed, so you can't do a whole lot either. Weird sort of middle-of-the-road place. So, for someone who claimed not to be very athletic, she sure seems to know a lot about throwing things. Unless, of course, in her line of work, she's more used to, hurling spears. She's even getting Anya to meditate, and Anya seems like a person who'd be distinctly poor at meditating, as indeed she demonstrates. I'd imagine there's a fair... Okay, yeah, there's a fair bit of hyperbole here. Anya's not meditating under a waterfall, she's just sitting in the shower. But you gotta love the imagination of a child who would think of something like that. I also like that she considers Yor's training to be ruthless. In a way it is, because Yor has very little self-control in this regard. But at the same time, it's not the first thing that comes to mind when you think of ruthless training. Normally I would think of something more akin to, like Dragon Ball with Goku training in high gravity, where, if you screw up, your bones crack under the heavy gravity. But that's neither here nor there. It would seem as though Anya and Damien have been put on the same team by virtue of being in the same class. So this sort of puts them at odds. They both want the Stella Star, but at the same time, Anya has to be conscious of not showing him up because she wants to make friends with him. So this sort of puts her in a really, unenviable position because she has two competing goals with mutually exclusive outcomes. But more notably, she hears a bit of his thoughts and gets a little bit more insight into what's going on in his head. Particularly the intense need to prove his worth to his father. So it seems like through a bit of a snafu, Henderson is the one in charge here of this gym class. You know, naturally, he doesn't seem like the type suited towards it, but I guess it can't be helped in this instance. I can only assume he's going to institute some sort of weird rule about the elegance of play here. So, Damien's lackeys here have gathered some information on the other class. And whatever information they gathered, you know, it seems kind of dubious. Oh, I forgot about this. Bill Watkins, the giant. Oh, man. Man, when I was in kindergarten, there was a kid who was like 5 feet tall. And he was like the same age as everyone. He was just huge for whatever reason. Just like this kid. Man. Good old 6-year-old Bill Watkins towers above the other kids. Yeah, Oh my god. That's a crazy voice for him. Oh man, a 6-year-old should not sound like that. Oh, this is insane. Man, there should be some sort of like drug test. This kid is clearly doping. Man, like, he's just built like a brick house and everything. Like, nobody seems to acknowledge how utterly bizarre that is. Alright, so not only is this guy built like a brick house, he's also a dodgeball savant who spends insane amounts of time training and running simulations. He can throw a dodgeball so hard it bends a lamppost. Man, an adult male voice actor should not be saying daddy like that. That's just not right. So I'm thinking this kid might be a person of interest, considering his father is an officer in the Ostanian military. Seems like he would have something to do with the potential war that's potentially going to break out. Potentially. I mean, at least Bill's nice enough to take it easy on the girls and not, like, pelting them in the face. You know, that takes restraint that a 6-year-old really doesn't have. No, I like this. I like how the kids imagine all sorts of crazy stuff when in reality it's just them playing on the playground in a very mundane way. You know, I remember thinking like that when I was a kid. Imagination is a potent and powerful thing. So these guys have trained and executed their big super move, but ultimately, it really doesn't matter. Although I was under the impression that in dodgeball, if you catch the ball that somebody throws at you, the person who threw it is out. That doesn't seem to be the case in this, seeing as how Bill Watkins catches every single ball thrown at him. Here we go. This is what dodgeball's all about. A heroic sacrifice from your friend to save you and keep you in the game. You know what? In the end, Emil was a really good kid. He didn't deserve to be done in by the dodgeball like that. Man, getting hit in the face with a dodgeball is no joke when you're a kid. I like how the entire thing is dramatized in a way that I don't think even kids would sort of dramatize it necessarily. Of course, reality sets in. They're soliloquizing in the middle of a game. No one called timeout. So now we finally cut to Anya, who has presumably just been standing around. It seems like her mind reading is finally coming in handy here. She can read every throw Bill Watkins is going to make and dodges it preemptively. I wonder why, if she's dodging it before he actually throws, why he doesn't adjust his throw accordingly. But at the same time, I guess he's a kid. He probably can't think that far ahead. Or think that well in the moment. Feel sorry for that guy who got hit. He was assuming Bill was aiming at Anya, and he just got beamed. Poor kid didn't deserve that. There we have that nice smug expression again. Man, that is... The picture of that expression is truly worth 1,000 words. I could scarcely think of a better reaction image than that if you want to be smug at someone on the internet. So now we have the moment of truth. Anya tripped, she can't move, Damien knows what's going on, Bill's not holding back. What's more important, the Stella Star or honor? Ultimately, it seems that honor is more important. And you know what? That might be enough to earn you the Stella. So this sort of reinforces the whole thing about, Damien protesting a bit too much. I think it was a couple episodes ago where we were treated to Damien vision, or how he sees Anya. She's drawn one way from our perspective and another way from his. And I think it's very telling about how he feels. So just like before, Anya decides to take what she learned from Yor and put it into practice. But whether or not this is a good idea is still up for debate. If she can truly put into practice what Yor did, no trouble knocking down a tree. That's not exactly something you want to do in a game of dodgeball meant for children. Of course, her opponent is basically an adult, We didn't see a shot of Bill next to anyone other than kids, but I'd imagine he's about as tall as Henderson. Definitely as heavy based on how muscled he is. Oh, here we go. A nice dramatic action shot for this magnum throw. This is what we need. If they didn't dump the entire episode's worth of animation budget on this shot, then frankly, I don't know what Cloverworks is doing. Oh, this is great. Everybody thinks it's going to be some big thing, and it just bounces off the ground almost instantly. Ah, it was a valiant effort. Uh-oh. Turns out that whole Stellastar business was mere hearsay. Ooh. Henderson was paying attention here. You know, he told another kid to die. That is a demerit for you, Bill. You know, Anderson's probably not a good gym teacher, but at least he was paying attention to what was going on, even if he didn't necessarily stop the match. You know, you notice that Damien and Anya were working together, even if only temporarily. It almost seems like any progress they made has immediately regressed. Alright, well that's it for this episode. If you've enjoyed it, then by all means, tune in for the next one. See you, Space Cowboy.